What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent and another live stream video. I've got a ton of stuff to cover today, so let's get into it. But before we do, remember, nothing I say is financial advice. And if you want to join the Web3 Secret Society, it's a sort of special membership group, sort of for the coaching, the support, the guidance, you can find that in the link below. The most pressing thing I want to bring to your attention is this update by Satoshi VM. And yes, it's the legit one. Now, about a couple weeks ago, I made a guide talking about how to earn from their incentivized testnet. And I had people say, well, they just created their token. Why would they do this? But literally, that's what they had said. And today, they are basically using a very unique way to reward their testnet users. So if you used their testnet, you would have used their TBTC faucet. Any remaining TBTC that you have, go back on the protocol and donate it back to them. They're going to take a record of it, and they're basically going to sort of reward people. There are some certain constraints, so only wallets who deposited TBTC to the testnet before February 6th are eligible. So you can't be doing this now if you didn't before. The max cap for overall rewards is 500 TBTC, which means you've got to get this in there before everyone else finds out, because some people may have been stacking. You know what I tell you guys, make sure you try to log in every day and max out your faucets. Well, if you're doing that, you would have a significant amount. And every eligible testnet user can transfer a maximum of 0.5 TBTC daily until that cap is reached. Finally, the minimum to qualify for this campaign is 0.05 TBTC, and sort of the reward distribution will be revealed later. So before we show you how to do it, Satoshi as a token is not doing too well. As you probably remember, this was a token mired with controversy. There was a ton of shady stuff that was going on with their launch. Turns out it had nothing to do with Satoshi VM or sort of the launch pad that helped it. In fact, what it was some sort of developing thing, or the developers they hired, and unfortunately, it really did hurt the sentiment of the token. You know, it's still like 22 million market cap, so not the worst, but could definitely be better. Now, what you want to do is you click on that link in the sort of tweet, or I've also linked this in the description below. Once you've done that, you go to the top and you connect your MetaMask wallet. Once you connect it, if you're on this site, it will take you to sort of switch to the right chain. You then type in your amount of BTC or TBTC, sorry, and then you sort of submit it. Once you've done that, you will qualify. So that's something you could definitely do. Take a look at it, see what you got. Now, the next update is with Prism. And with Prism, as you know, recently they've launched their injective validator. It just went active. And they've launched two more with Celestia and Dimension. So obviously, there are some rewards here. And when people ask me, should I be validating or should I be staking with Prism? The most common thing I sort of say back is, well, as long as they're trustworthy, as long as they're close to being an active validator, I don't see why not, especially if there's no other competition. On Injective, we had competition with Black Panther and Talos Protocol, both of which have been somewhat subpar. So I think most people are realizing, hey, Prism's better. On Dimension, there is another protocol or another validator called ValiDAO, and that might be the other potential competition for Dimension validation. And then on Celestia, there really isn't one. The only thing I would say is when you are delegating to an inactive validator, you can see here, Prism is inactive currently on Celestia. I'm making sure that when I redelegate, that I'm still keeping the minimum I want. So I still have the 35 TM minimum just to make sure that I qualify for any snapshots that happen. One more thing I want to talk to about sort of Celestia or TIA is really what's going on with ST-TIA. So as you remember, about a week and a few days ago, I had posted a live stream, or I hosted a live stream during the first day, and 20 minutes in, they did a snapshot where people made significant amount of money. I believe you got half of the STTI you had on the protocol in Stride token that day. At the time, I believe the TVL was only a few $1,000,000. After 2 days, it rose to 12 million TVL. In about a week, it has quadrupled. And what's happened is the amount of reward we're getting in Stride token is getting smaller and smaller very significantly. So I hope you guys are watching, because there's a potential shot that we will start to have to look at the exit door. Now, this is sort of an inside look as to something I sent to the Web3 Secret Society about a week ago, talking about my adjustment to my IBC strategy. This was something that I made a video kind of talking a bit about, but I didn't really go through everything here. You can see I talk about on February 1st, I earned 35 Stride token. On February 2nd, I earned 10. Based on sort of the information that we had, it was easy to sort of create a linear equation. So basically, if you are wondering how much Stride token you are going to get, you just put the number of STTI you have staked times 12.3 M, which is the current TVL at the time I took the snapshot, divided by the current TVL of today. So right now that would be 48 times 0.07. So if you sort of put that in there, you will be able to calculate the ST or the Stride token you're going to gain. Honestly, in my opinion, I am starting to think that there might be a better place to move this, especially once this number drops below 1.5 or 1. I mean, it's great. And, obviously it's a way better return you get in the bank, but we're in crypto and we want more than this. Adding a wrench to this is also Milky Way Zone. They announced yesterday that, or 2 days ago, sorry, that they're going to look at creating their endpoints. So the idea here is for the Milk Chia tokens you earn endpoints, and that will likely turn into Milk token in the future. The first thing that comes to my mind is, does that mean those who held the Milk token or Milk Chia token for so long have not gotten anything? Hopefully we hear something back from them regarding this. The other thing I want you to notice is they said that aim for a high place in the leaderboard and earn multipliers. And what you should take away from this is just like what I was saying with Celestia. It is so important to not spread yourself too thin, and also consider having fewer wallets, especially if there's going to be thresholds or amplifiers for bigger amounts. So in that sense, if there will be thresholds where certain amounts will get nothing, like we saw with AltLayer, and sort of we saw a bit with Saga, then perhaps it's better to just have one or two wallets, maybe one wallet where you have all your Milk Chia, one wallet or two wallets where you have all your Celestia. And the other thing I want to say about this, and I'll sort of wrap it all up around all these tokens, I staked 3/4 of the sort of Dimension airdrop I got on this wallet, and I sold, or I didn't even sell the other quarter. I traded the other quarter for Celestia token. And I did this for a couple reasons. The first, and probably the most important reason, the one you guys need to know, is there is a very strong narrative around what Dimension offers with the roll apps, what Celestia offers with the modular technology. And all of these things are going to be built into future blockchains, into future protocols. And when that happens, there will be significant airdrops. So my whole thought was, if we got 205 Dimension tokens just for staking 1 TIA, is it possible that other protocols will say, well, if you're truly invested in the space, you got 205 for literally putting 1 TIA in. Do you want to at least have 205 staked? And when I did it that way, I just said, hey, I'll just divide it by 4, multiply by 3 to get 3/4, and put it here and see what happens. Like I said, I feel very strongly that Dimension is going to earn me much bigger rewards than Injective. And I know that's a very strong statement, but you know what? It is also somewhat now reflected in the market. If you take a look at the price of Dimension, Dimension has been doing very good. And just like I told you guys what happened a few days ago to a week ago, I said, hey, I know people are going to tell me Celestia is too expensive at $17, but literally wait until people find out about the airdrop of Dimension and how much people made. Once that comes to fruition, more people are going to stake, more people will need to buy Celestia token. And while the fully diluted market cap is getting a little too big for my comfort, sitting at around 21 billion market cap when it's fully diluted versus a current market cap of 3.3 on current circulation, still, I think the narrative is very strong. And if you can make some massive airdrops through this, why not do it? And just so you guys know, as I've been very transparent with you, I am going to sort of have 2 wallets maximum with Celestia tokens. And I have literally gone on a bunch of my other smaller wallets and unbound them from all their validators so I can bring them over here eventually. So that's the plan. And obviously, I'm waiting to see what Milk Tia is going to have, because maybe instead of validating it all, I will sort of have a split between validation of Celestia and some liquid staked Celestia. Obviously, the Stride part makes it a little more confusing, and we need some more clarity on will we qualify for future airdrops, because we lucked out and they sort of had a deal with EigenLayer to do that, but that's not the norm and we can't expect it. Meanwhile, Injective has actually been slipping. Injective used to be 40, and people are starting to realize that maybe this is not the right narrative to get airdrops if we want it, and that's all the craze right now. So, not saying Injective is bad by any means, very fast network and does offer something, but I don't know if airdrops are what that is. Now, one big announcement I want to talk about quickly is Pixel. So I'm actually doing this live stream around the same time they're doing their AMA. Well, they made a massive announcement yesterday. We've been waiting so long. We've been saying when Pixel. For those of you who sort of don't remember or haven't heard, there was a sort of play to earn campaign or play to airdrop campaign to sort of get to the token generation event of Pixel. At the same time, they've gotten rid of their internal currency and given people Pixel. And I'm excited to see what my allocation has been. I ended up 1,500th out of 7,000 qualifying players in their airdrop campaign. I'm still waiting for the play to airdrop allocation to be shown. And you know what? Let's just see if it's up. We'll just quickly do a quick detour. Maybe I'm sweating it, but maybe it's up. Who knows? And, we'll leave that to load while I sort of bring this up. So I've included a Medium article talking a bit about their decisions around how they've gotten rid of their Berry token, which, by the way, once they made the announcement that they were making a switch, it almost like 5 or 6x in price. So, and that's because they're sort of swapping 1,000 Berry for 7.6 Pixel. If you've got Berry off on Ronin chain, make sure you swap it as soon as possible, because the exchange rate will drop after 72 hours. Okay, so this isn't working right now, but I will get to it. One more thing I want to sort of mention here is the countdown to EigenLayer is upon us. We got 19 hours left before sort of the caps go back on. So if you haven't already and you want to, make sure you take a look either at Swell Network or other protocols. Make sure you look at EigenLayer. One of the most, we talked about Celestia. I talked about Celestia. I talked about Dimension, about technology. If you sort of earn restaking points with EigenLayer, you are doing your part to secure the layer. You're doing your part to secure other protocols coming up. And we saw EigenLayer reward people handsomely for that. And they won't be the first, and they're not going to be the last. So that's one more thing I want to talk about. The next thing is around the mode campaign. So I posted about mode about 2 weeks ago. And since then, I kind of was like, all right, whatever about it, because I was waiting to see what they did. The first thing that has changed is number one, you can now use third-party bridges to bridge on and off mode network, so it's much cheaper, and you don't have to have that sort of lockdown time. So if you go to Orbiter Finance, that's one of the options. And you know what? Maybe I'll sort of bring that up, because I should have while I'm doing that. The other thing is they've launched phase 2 of their takeover campaign, and as part of this takeover campaign, they had a lot of pushback. And what I will say there is when you click on bridge to mode, I've done all of these by now. But when you first did it here, Interact actually said, well, you've got to do it again. And as you can imagine, so much outroar. Well, what happened was they came back and said, hey, you asked, we delivered. Now we will actually roll it back. And if you've done any of these tasks before, don't worry, you don't have to do it again, which is awesome. So if you've already done this stuff, you may just be able to go on the campaign, come back on here, make sure you're doing it. And once you've done all that, you can just claim, you open this like box here, maybe you win some money, you get some XP. But the ultimate goal here is when you go back to mode, I'm just going to open it up because I clicked the wrong thing. You want to basically mint the mode Sentinel NFT. You've literally got 15 more days to do this. I did it earlier. What you'll need to do is complete all of the phase 2 mode campaigns. While you're doing that, the nice thing is you're also getting the transactions on the network. So the last part on here I'll mention is what I mentioned earlier around sort of going and sort of bridging to mode and back. You can do this, from whatever chains you like. But the goal here as well, I mentioned about the Orbiter Bridge airdrop as well. So what they will be doing is they'll be looking at your old point summary. They're also going to be looking and seeing if you hold any Orbiter NFTs. You would have got these off Galaxy. You can buy them on Element if you want to as well, or OpenSea, I believe. You can buy the cheap ones, and these will potentially get you some more O points. That's what I did because I was a few weeks late on getting this. As well, they have quests. So in this case, if you bridge one transaction with any amount of ETH from mode to any network, you get 5 points. And you can follow this here. And just so you guys know, when you're doing all this, you have to do 6 transactions, because when you do the first quest is 1. When you do the second one, it doesn't count because you need to do 2. So that's why it'll require 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the same backwards. And maybe one more thing I'll mention, because I brought this up in the sort of Web3 Secret Society. As you're doing your quests on mode, there will be some quests that ask you to do transactions worth $10 or whatever. There is slippage sometimes. So I remember I did a transaction for $10.50. It ended up resulting in $9.50 because of some changes on the protocol. So it didn't qualify me, and I had to do it again. So to avoid that and avoid sort of double paying for gas, when you're doing this Interact campaign, when you're working on it, just literally put in for 12 or 13, just to make sure. So if it says 10, do 12 or 13, and you'll be good. The next thing I want to talk about is Wormhole, and this is actually the last thing I want to talk about. So Wormhole is one of many big airdrops that has been on the horizon that everyone's been talking about. If you go on Twitter, every day you'll see some idiot posting some 50 sort of activities to do, and really like maybe one of them actually works around Wormhole. Well, they took their snapshot yesterday before posting this. They've released their tokenomics, and what this has done is it's really helped me refocus. When I first started farming airdrops outside IBC, I was more focused on ZK Sync, Layer 0, and then we started getting bogged down in the day-to-day. Okay, well, let's do this quest, let's do Metis, testnet, and everything else. But they're not even going to pay 1 iota close to the amount you're going to get if you do these right. So for Wormhole, I got ranked like sort of intermediate. It won't show up on here, but I have sort of linked in the description below some apps where you can actually check where you are. And then one app that I've been using for a long time to help me plug the holes. So Ethereum's not having an airdrop. But if we go to ZK Sync, for example, on Earn3, you can see here that I have an 81%, so high performance. Expect a substantial reward in this airdrop, because a lot of these protocols will be looking for similar things, that your transactions are spread out over a long period of time. In this case, 7 months, 15 weeks, 37 days. The volume that you have, because that matters, and how many different transactions you have. Some platforms actually measure the unique transactions and your gas fees spent. You can also go on ZK Flow and find something very similar. And on ZK Flow, it actually shows you what protocols sort of you've interacted with and some other gates, using sort of Arbitrum as a sort of simulation here. Another one that I've done, and this is my favorite, is really Wenzer. So you can do this for a bunch of chains. On layer 0, I can see here, hey, I did 6 chains, I did 6 source chains and 15 destination chains. And that's a big gap because this is all about interoperability. So if you go to source chains here, I can now see here's where I've actually got to bridge from. I've got to go from Phantom to something else. I've got to go from Genosis to something else, CeeLo and Base. And by doing this and by using these bridges right here, I'm able to fill that gap. The same thing with destination. I'm missing 31 destination chains, and here's some other dApps that I can use. So all that's linked below. And by the way, don't forget, you could also do this for other protocols. I'm not showing this here, but I actually did purchase lifetime access on this wallet. I actually did it through another wallet. I know it's confusing. I just didn't want to connect this wallet to something before. And then the last thing I'll show you is NFT Copilot, which is just another airdrop ranking system. Now, one alpha that I will give you, and it's not even my alpha, but it's alpha I got from Twitter. If you're looking to have some quick transactions and sort of have your volume go up without doing a ton of work, something like Merkley is really good, where you can do a gas refuel. So this basically sends whatever money transferred over in whatever network you're going to. So if you wanted, you can use your BNB to have, FTM on Phantom sort of show up. And you could also sort of mint and bridge NFTs, creating transaction volume. And once again, the goal here is to do this over a period of time, but it's better to do this at least a couple of times because that way you have a footprint. And the beauty about this is you can do this on layer 0, Wormhole, which now it's probably too late now because of the snapshot, Polyhydra, and also Hyperlane. So that is actually sort of where I'm going to be refocusing in the next probably few weeks. I have sort of created some groups of channels within the Web3 Secret Society. So for those of you who are like, hey, I want to be part of farming layer 0, ZK Sync, all that, we're going to have mad discussions, finding out where we can go to transact for the cheapest, and literally going through and measuring our progress week to week by making sure everyone posts how they're doing right now, and then also saying, okay, what's my update? How much did I improve over the course of the week? What other gaps do I have? What's the plan? And I think that is so important because a lot of people are overlooking this. But one day we're going to see these airdrops also come out, and this is truly where you're going to make this like life-changing money. Anyways, we're 22 minutes in, so I will sort of check the comments and then open it up for questions. John Gable, how are you doing? Integrity Payment Solutions. Wow, I thought this dead scam type. Oh, sorry. Are you referring to Satoshi? Well, Satoshi had a bunch of garbage, obviously, because there were a bunch of influencers pushing it. They went through the sort of launch pad, and then after that whole thing happened, there was this like back and forth battle on Twitter, and then eventually came out that it was actually the devs who screwed it up. Bad, but hey, if you've got some BTC and you got 0.05 or whatever, send it over and claim, and you're good to go. I have a testnet wallet that I've got to do that with after, but I wanted to show you guys, so I can't be on here too long. Got my Phantom wallet drained today. K-Day, I'm really sorry to hear that. Could you sort of give us a little more details on what happened? Did you sign the sort of a transaction on some weird website? Any information you can provide will be, really helpful for the community because, we want to avoid anyone doing this, right? One more thing I'm going to tell you guys. If you are worried about getting drained, here is sort of what I like to do. I'm just going to open this up and I'm going to show you my favorite service. And remember, I do not get anything from supporting these guys. I like them because, I've tested them and they literally let you know if you ever go to some sketchy website where that's going to drain you or whatever, and it'll be like, hey, watch out. And, maybe we'll test it. So let's go scan now. And when I scan here, it shows me high risk approvals, transaction history analysis, any hacks or exploits, anything that where I got to revoke sort of the transactions or anything. So once we do that, I'm at medium risk, but only because I have a bunch of assets where I have unlimited contract open, but there's $0 that I have in it. So really revoke thing. Maybe what we can do is let's go to Satoshi, because they're known for having scammers in their comments. Let me go check here. So let's see here. Marine log. Marine log is definitely a scammer. They're trying to send me here. Okay. So I'm going to open this here. Let's see what happens. Well, this also protects me, but I wonder if I do this, if it'll still take me there. Yeah. So you see, like, I literally have so many things installed that literally will not let me go there. You know what I mean? But this is the whole point. Like, even if I half asleep, I have all this stuff that's literally going to say, no, we're not going to let this happen, right? And Wallet Guard is also another one of those things. Wallet Guard is also going to protect me. So these are the things you got to do to really protect yourself, having those things in place. We got Beth the Apple saying, yo, bro, how's it going? Scorpio, yeah, look, we all feel bad for K-Day. This is a horrible thing to go through. And you know what? Like, while we're on this topic, guys, security is so important. Please have multiple wallets. If you've got, like, you should treat one wallet like a bank account and one wallet like your wallet that you use. So I have a wallet that you guys don't see. That's my bank account. I hold the majority of my Ether there. I hold the majority of my Bitcoin. I hold a ton of other tokens there. That stuff does not touch protocols. I've never connected it to literally anything. All it does is I swap it with another wallet, and I sort of go through this, I don't want to call it washing, but basically I use a mechanism to eventually end up in one of my hot wallets. But it does not, the wallet in question does not ever touch a protocol. It doesn't get connected to DeFi. If I want to use the money there, I send money there and receive it back later. I got top 3 in Pixel campaign. Congratulations, Dr. Darkness. Tomorrow it will be up. There is big changes today, though. Oh, I thought I saw from the announcement that they were going to delay the AMA by an hour so that they could get the thing up. Interesting. I'm late. What did I miss? Well, you got to rewind and say it. Jonathan Matthew, thanks for great info. That's one of our members. Jonathan's been killing it in the Web3 Secret Society. Why do you have Satoshi VM logo on your miniature? That project is a scam. Shogun, like I said, please literally watch the first bit of the video. They're not a scam. Their devs have an issue. Listen, you don't put any money in here. If you did their testnet, you can literally get paid for that. That's all I was flagging. Okay. If market dumped before having, what alts would you buy outside big cap alts? Depends on what you okay, so no big cap alts. The problem is the big cap alts are the ones that are like the ones that are like much more potent. Do you know what I'm saying? I think I'd buy like ICP, so Internet Computer. I think that is some really good technology. I think Link is very good too, like Chainlink. That's a good one. Does Polygon count? I don't know if that's a big alt or not. I think Polygon is very, very good. I think of the L2 narrative, it's already had pretty much all of its dilution, so we shouldn't see that price go down, and they're going to rebrand to Pol as well. Have you looked at Merlin Chain BTC L2? There's so many BTC L2s. I literally have one like up right in front of me that I was looking into as well. Like, let me bring this up. Like, honestly, like, it's just never ending, the number of projects, chains, protocols. So it's so hard to be like, hey, I want to do this one over the other one, because like every single thing has its value proposition. And what I've recently sort of come to sort of realize is I have been letting smaller projects distract me, and the real big ones, like the layer zeros, the ZK Syncs, where we will make 5-figure plus amounts of money. That's what I got to do. I should not be wasting my time on sort of $10, $50, $100 airdrops. If I can do that as well, for sure. Like if I had all the time in the world, I would do it. But I'm not gonna focus on these things unless I have done my work on the bigger protocols for the day. And that is literally the direction that I want to take the Web3 Secret Society in. Yes, we'll post about all these things, these campaigns, these easy to do things, right? Like mode is easy. We did the week 2 campaign this morning in literally like, what was it, like 20 minutes, because all the transactions are pretty much done. Well, because that stuff is good, you know, we can easily do it. But something where you've got to like go in depth and sort of do all this stuff on your own takes much longer. And I literally rather just say, hey, let's have a strategy session. Let's sit here. How do we conquer layer 0? How do we conquer ZK Sync? How do we conquer scroll? How do I make sure that I'm in the top for, you know, polyhedra, for hyperlane, right? How do we make sure that we're getting those and we're doing it now so that we have a huge competitive edge? And you find that out by just dissecting it and going, okay, where am I at today, right? And for all of you, you don't have to join the Web3 Secret Society to do this. Go and take a snapshot of your wallet on all those protocols. Yes, depending on which tool you use, it'll be slightly different, but it gives you a good baseline. And then find out what you need to do to get to the next level, create a plan to do that, and execute on that plan over the course of days, weeks, months. It doesn't have to happen all in one day. In fact, it shouldn't happen in one day. That makes you look like a bot. But if you sort of spread it out and you do that, you can make a ton of money through these protocols. May join your group. I have been heavily invested in airdrops. Hey, that'd be fantastic. Hey man, how do we add mode network? And also, do you have Twitter? So Integrity Payment Solutions, I actually have a guide on how to sort of get into mode and do all of that stuff. I'm going to actually, after this video, I'll link it in the description below, but I'm also going to sort of put this up for you to see. So I'm just gonna grab it so you see what I'm talking about. And I also have a referral code if you want to use it. It supports the channel and all that. So you can see here, it's called Mode Airdrop Guide, Earn Points Early. It shows you how to sort of get started. You know, given all this, I would probably just start by, I wonder if you can sort of get by without even doing your initial bridge deposit. If you can just start with Orbiter Finance, which is what I would do if you can. Scorpio says, is it better to spread thin across all airdrop opportunities or take a concentrated approach? Take a concentrated approach, not even close. So to your question on top 3, if you're starting to farm today, it depends on sort of your capital and also your time. My thoughts on all of this is really focus on the passive stuff that's easy. So like, for example, if you have EigenLayer, like if I can only pick 3 things right now, I would say I'd want EigenLayer staked. So that's your ETH. I'd want Celestia staked. And even though it just came out, I want Dimension stake. Those are my 3 passive ones. Those are like, I just put money in here and they're going to run and they're going to earn me airdrops. I have more confidence in Dimension earning me more airdrops than Injective, Atom, just what it is, right? I think all layer actually might even be better than Injective and Atom, just sort of the way this is going to go. In fact, when Worm token comes out, W token for Wormhole, I think that is also going to be another big airdrop sort of booster. So those are the ones I'd focus on, like Solana, like, you know, it's already kind of happened. And I think for you to do that, I think you'd rather get like the JLP, which is like their perpetual on Jupiter. But those are the 3 I would say if you're just doing passively. If you're doing actively, I would focus on ZK Sync, Layer 0, and Scroll. Those are the 3. Now, if you can go further, you can add Linea to it. You know, you can add some other L2s. The L2 narrative is going to be massive, but focus on doing that stuff. And I think once you start doing it, it becomes very addictive because it's like a puzzle. You're literally saying, okay, how can I get the score up, right? Like literally, I spent 30 minutes trying to figure out how to get the score up on ZK Sync, and I got to move from 80 to 81, and I was so happy, right? This was 80 yesterday. So my score on ZK Sync is now 81. And my goal here is to get myself into the green. So I'm like, how do I do it? What do I got to do? I got to figure this out, right? So part of this is unique days. So I'm going to literally be logging in every single day and doing a transaction, whether it's like you see here, 18 cents for this transaction. Doesn't matter. I want this. I want to get it. So better now than never to do it. Please make a hyperlane tutorial. So what I'm going to do instead of doing a hyperlane tutorial is I'm going to build a tutorial on how to maximize your interoperability. So by that, what I mean is what bridges, what tools can you use to maximize your layer 0, your polyhedra, and your hyperlane. And the reason I'm going to say that, and I'm going to show which ones are specific to one, which can be used to all, because I'm not a fan of just sort of pigeonholing on one sort of interoperability. If Wormhole was still around and I could do this again, I would do that one too. I think that's going to be more useful for people because I think everyone, if you're doing one, you're going to want to do all of them, I think. Sup, man, did you end up upping your Ether restaking? Yeah, I did. So I added 2 on one account and I added another 2 on another account. So I got 5, 3 on this account and 2 on another. I gave you points using your links. Oh, thanks, dude. Really appreciate it. Shogun is stuck on the Satoshi VM. No, bro, you simply can't develop an EVM over BTC. So yeah, it's a scam. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what to say to that. I'm joining. Awesome. I use your reference for mode. You're the first one I saw make a video for early bridging. Oh, I appreciate that. And you know what I'll say? Like, guys, if you have to use to use my code, if you have to bridge, then don't use my code. I would rather you guys save the money, go through Orbiter Finance, and sort of focus on that way, if that works. I don't know because I mean, it's already hard enough with the whole. I put a VPN on because of their restrictions on certain countries. But I'd be curious to know, can you just bridge directly from Orbiter Finance for your first one? And if so, if you can sort of circumvent that and hey, you don't get to use my code, so be it. I'd rather you guys save money on the fees. Are you farming grass? I had trouble signing in. Once again, I haven't touched that protocol. I tried a protocol called Zeta Chain. They had an airdrop, but they have an XP program, which is going on. The problem with Zeta Chain is this XP program is somewhat expensive. So I was going to make a video on it, but then when I saw like how much it required in terms of gas fees and everything else like that, I just decided, hey, there would be zero value to show you guys. You know what I mean? Like it just didn't seem like it was worth it. So even though I've gained like, 17,000 points here, unless you've got the funds to burn on speculation, I wouldn't recommend it. That's just my honest approach. And honestly, I stopped doing it. Like there were some easy ones like the LP to get 5,000. But if you sort of want to receive BNB or ETH or BTC using this protocol, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. So I wouldn't touch it. Is ZOM a sell or a hold since it announced reverse split? I believe the vote's happening at the end of the month. So depending on the end of that, the outcome of the vote, that's sort of what I would decide to do. But I did sell 85 to 90% of those shares. So, but I sold them at like 18 cents. You got to use the mode native bridge to earn the early points, and the bridge gives more points. Of course. Well, the problem is the bridge may give more points, but they're going to charge you 20 to 30 bucks. One of the other things is sort of the way that all this stuff is marketed, right? So I would much rather have a low cost of entry on something like this, especially after what happened with Manta. In fact, it got worse with Layer Bank. I don't know if you guys saw, but they released the ability to claim your TIA rewards, and they put a threshold on it. So somebody said they were staking like 150 TIA, and they got like 1.7 Manta. Like, can you imagine just from the start of the campaign? They got 1.7 Manta, which is like $3 for staking 170 TIA or whatever. Like, you know, they went through Hyperlane and whatever, put it there, and that's what they got. That's a joke. And I would just be careful when you're doing these sort of campaigns, especially on things like this, because these are very whale oriented, and typically they suck up all the good rewards. And you know, we haven't got much clarity. Like, what the mode the mode team had a big snafu. They had posted this morning about this 5,000 XP, and there were like 20K wallets who had less than $50 of TVL. And they're like, hey, we want to give you guys an opportunity to let us know if you're real or not. And then an hour before I did the stream, they're like, hey, just kidding. We had a miscommunication error. Sorry, but if you put less than $50, you're not getting anything. And people were clearly outraged. So we'll see what happens there. Of all the airdrops you will receive, are there any you will hold 100% due to long-term conviction, or will you always take profits? So I'll always take profits, but I'll do it in a sort of different way. So I try to, like, I will take at least 25%. I think that's my recommendation on everything. We're not in the period of time where I would make it into cash. So typically when I say take profit, I mean, hey, just sell it for USD or something, right? In this stage, we're literally about to have the golden bull, like the golden bull cycle. In that sense, it makes no sense to sell that for USD. That's why when I took profit of Dimension, I took that 25% of Dimension, which ended up being like 90 Dimension tokens on that wallet, and I swapped it for Celestia. At like Celestia was $18. I think Dimension was like $6. So I got like 30 Celestia tokens for it. So it was pretty decent. But normally, I think, and the reason I do that is sort of, to hedge, because these are all newer projects, right? There are some projects that I'm very strong on, and that's what I will do this for. So Layer 0, any of the good tech I want, ZK Sync, all of that. However, if you have a project like a meme token or something, right? So like Wasmo or WEN token, I sell 100% of it. I'm like, why would I want that token? It doesn't do anything, and I'd rather rotate that into something that I can use, something that's going to earn me more. Is it still worth it to try and farm EigenLayer? Yeah, I think so. So here's the thing. I personally would, if it was me, not financial advice, I would stake that ETH. Here's why. Alt layer. So I had originally staked 1 ETH on EigenLayer for about 30 days, and the alt layer airdrop thing came out, and I was just like 30 or 50 points short, I think, something like that, from getting their airdrop. It would have been a decent chunk of change. It would have made a couple $100. And they're not the only ones, and sort of securing the network is very important. I think that if you do it now, you're going to earn some points, and maybe in a month to 2 months, future airdrops from EigenLayer, or sort of future airdrops that sort of care about EigenLayer, which is a lot of them, the EVM network, they're gonna look at that. So you're only helping yourself. And by the way, it's only a 7-day lockup. So my recommendation is find a protocol if you like. I like Swell. If you do want to use Swell, I do have my referral code over here. It's in the description below. They're also going to announce very soon their Swell City, which is where you can redeem pearls for Swell token in the token generation event. Remember, you only got like 18 hours, so do think about it. It's 1 week to sort of unlock it here once you've deposited, and then I believe Swell is going to enable withdrawals starting in mid-February. So I hope that sort of answers that question. Native bridge at least once may be a prerequisite, and honestly the mode native bridge at okay, so that's not so bad. I think when I was recently looking at bridging, it was like $80. So I was kind of like, oh my God, it's like $80. I'm like, really? There's no way I'm going to do that. So good to know. Kujira worth holding and staking? I don't think so. Like I said, we can't spread ourselves too thin. Look at everything you got. Sort of pick where you want to win. We know Celestia is basically the gold. It's like the gem in IBC. The fact that whether you're in IBC or not, you're going to want to be in. You're going to want to use the Celestia module technology. If that's the case, and you saw how it's happening, and every single one of their airdrops has been tiered. Yes, Dimension was one, Celestia was the threshold for starting. We're never going to see that again. So if you want, yes, feel better, make a few wallets with one Celestia token, but then create an actual wallet where you have put a decent amount so that you can get a tier 2 or a tier 3 size airdrop for Celestia. And if that means cutting out Kujira, which is literally doing nothing, or cutting out Osmo, which is doing very little, right? Like, they may do something, right? Like, Osmo did contribute to my Dimension, but I wish I just had that in Dimension token. I would have gotten more. I would have gotten more if I had it in Celestia. Damn, those nice points made. Yeah, appreciate that. I still have the Wasmo and all and sale tokens. I got airdrop. Should I convert? It's not worth much. Well, personally, I would, only because what else is it going to do for you? If it's even helping you get across any threshold for another airdrop with Celestia, I would do it. And that's probably what I would switch it to. I don't have any Wasmo. I don't have any sale. I got rid of all of them for that reason. And that's the problem. When you have tokens like Osmo, you get bullshit like this. I want real tokens that I want to hold. I'm not interested in having a bunch of trash. And that unfortunately is the case when you get sort of technology where, I'm not saying osmosis is not good. Osmosis zone is fantastic. However, all these chains coming sort of to support it are like nothing, nobody's. I was just going to ask, what should I use with Eigen to try and get 2 airdrops in one? So you're saying swell. Yeah, so I can only tell you based on what I know. Other people use EtherFi and they use other protocols. I use Swell for a couple reasons. One, that's what I use for all my Ether that goes into EigenLayer. And number 2, they have an airdrop in Q1 2024. So if you do put in some ETH, you will get Pearl tokens. And if you refer people, you get Pearl tokens too. So I thought, hey, where better than to just get a 2 in 1 airdrop? Now, there may be other platforms, right? When you go to EigenLayer, you have a ton of places you can sort of stake it with. Avoid Coinbase, avoid sort of some of the others. And also avoid Binance, but hey, maybe other options are also decent. I'm only speaking from the perspective of Swell because that's what I liked. Cool. Thanks, man. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, anytime I got to do mainnet transactions, I keep an eye on Skin gas tracker. Yeah, no. It's a good habit. I don't do it. I just look at how much the gas is and go, yeah, ew. Did you also utilize Pendle? No. So here's what happened. If you sort of use Pendle, from what I've seen, there's a significant lockup. And like the way that Swell and others sell this new restaked whatever is they say, well, you can now deposit this in other platforms. But when you're staking Ether and you get the restore stake form and everything, every single person is trying to take a piece of that yield. And when you are basically giving to Pendle for some decent yield for a massive lockup period, I think it's like 5 or 6 months in some cases. And they got some weird stuff like where your token goes to 0, but you earn yield on sort of what they would have gotten or something like that. It's some weird stuff. But what sort of I don't like is they are waiving fees for the first month, but it's got to be worth their while. Like they're not just the nicest guys ever who are like offering the service, which is just better than the sort of regular staked service. They're getting something more out of it for them to launch it. They would not be doing it otherwise. That's just my opinion. So that's why I'm not doing it, and that's why I'm not going to Pendle, because the puck stopped for me at EigenLayer. Now, potentially, if I end up needing to add to my sort of EigenLayer stake when the cap is sort of done, then maybe I'll look into it. But now, no. Atom staking definitely still worth, literally center. Yeah, so I have Atom, Injective, and Celestia on my Kepler wallet. I have Dimension on my EVM wallet, but hey, you can also put an IBC. Hope that makes sense. I've just got under 1,000 in most Cosmos chain. I'm invested about 2,000 in Atom and Osmo. Should I swap? So the challenge here as well is TIA has also just had like a big increase. It's gone up, what is it, like about 10 to 15%. It was the biggest mover on Coinbase today. I think Atom is a fantastic hold. For me, Osmosis is sort of no thanks. I would rather have Celestia than Osmosis, even at this current price point, because even though like it is a little higher than I'd like to buy Celestia, I expect more airdrops to come from this, and I also expect the price to continue to go up, especially as the narrative around airdrops continues to pump, and people saw like what kind of airdrops people are getting from holding Celestia. Out of everything in IBC, it's the one that's making people money. So that's the one I would focus on if I were you. Everything else, a joke. Like prioritize Celestia over everything else in IBC. After that, Atom. And then if you have extra money, sure. Injective. Ignore everything else, in my opinion. The coins are staked, so I've got a couple weeks. Yeah, you know, it's funny. So literally I went in and I unstaked a bunch of tokens, even on some of my main wallets, but also on some of my farm wallets, because I'm like, no more self-diluting myself. Satoshi VM is a joke. Since they started their testnet, the faucet has not been working, or it gives. Yeah, so the thing was, like, what they didn't say, and sort of in the Discord they were talking about it, there were ways to sort of get around that limit, and they were sort of pumping it up. So I remember when I first tried to do the testnet, I had issues with the same thing. It was like overloaded, blah 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 blah. And then if you go back in and you sit there and you just there was something you had to do. I forget what it was, but it was the second Bitcoin faucet. Then it made it load, and then you got a little bit more. But yeah, that totally sucks. I wish there was a better way. Like, I wish it was just like Sepolia, where you can literally just, get the Sepolia 0.5 ETH every day. I have 13 TS stake, 5 Milky Way, 3 in Stride, and 5 in some validators, 120 point stake. Yeah, I would rather unstake the injective and put it into you if I were you. That's my opinion. But like I said, not financial advice, but I'd just rather have much more Celestia than injective, and I'd rather have it all in one. My question here is, when you're doing that, so you got $120 worth of injective, that's like 4. That's like 6 Celestia. I'm trying to think if it'll make it that big of a difference. 19. Yeah, I mean, 19 is not bad. Like I said, if you can get to a point where you rotate your profits from testnets into Celestia, that's not a bad idea, because you want to build up that bag. That bag is the one that's going to sort of snowball you. If you're wondering sort of how to do that, I did make a video on how to make it in crypto, where I talk about testnets that you can do to continue sort of growing that bag and sort of building it up. 60 injective. Sweet. What's your 2025 quarter one price target for BTC ETH sold here, Adam? Wow, that's a lot of questions. So BTC, I expect us to be somewhere, and don't hold me to this, I expect somewhere between 80 and 100,000. If you watch my previous videos, even like 3-4 years ago, I call people stupid when they were saying that it would go that high. In fact, I was saying back then that I thought the sort of Bitcoin peak was like 60 to 70,000. I don't think we ever got to 70,000, but whatever. Ethereum around 10 to 15,000, maybe 12,500, something like that. Solana, I think it's increased so much. I think maybe just like 300, 400 bucks max. Like, maybe it goes higher, but like, I think it's had such a huge move right now. It's hard to sort of just keep going like at that pace. Celestia, probably like 50 bucks, 60 bucks. And the reason I say that is, I think that people will already see the appreciation here and look for sort of better opportunities. But once again, at 60 bucks, that's a 3x. So that's a 60 billion market cap with total supply, 10 billion on sort of circulating. So, I mean, maybe go to 100. Yeah, you know what? As I say that, maybe Celestia 100, Atom probably like 60, 70 bucks. There is a ton of potential, right? So this all really depends on where we are in the market cycle. Once Bitcoin has sort of peaked, which I don't think it will have by Q1 2025. And by the way, like, I say all this stuff having looked at some charts before, but like, obviously I can't predict the future. If I could predict the future, I wouldn't be here right now. You know what I'm saying? I would have bought Bitcoin 15 years ago and just held it, or not 15 years ago, but you know what I mean? I would have bought Bitcoin like over 10, 12 years ago. So when I say all this stuff, just keep in mind that sort of the way the Bitcoin cycle works, right? Bitcoin goes up, it does really well. Eventually it stalls, money flows to Ethereum. The money that flows to Ethereum has a much broader impact on Ethereum than Bitcoin. Pumps Ethereum up. Once that cap is reached, it flows down to the bigger alts. Way bigger impact, which is why you get like 20, 30, 40x. So that's sort of the thought. Bear chain looks bullish. Yeah, no, it looks good. In fact, I believe I saw somewhere that I think Celestia stakers are also going to be supported there, or they're going to get part of that too. I'm having trouble doing tasks for Bera and DOP. For DOP, it's probably, what is it, task 8? And for Bera, what task is it? Because that's actually, I thought Bera chain was actually not that bad. Can Tia hit 300? It could. It definitely could. That's a 15x from here, right? That's 45 billion market cap. That is probably the high end. Like I'd say probably like 100 to 150 is probably like where I think it would go max. I mean, I could always be wrong. Well, you know about wallet blacklisting? Like if you send coins from Kepler to Kepler wallets, both the wallets get banned. So that's not what it is. It's called a Cybele. So basically what they want to make sure is you're not sitting here and just like, trading funds and trying to like maximize by farming. Some do it, some don't. And you have to be careful. So, I'll give you an example. What I did was I pooled them all and I sent them back to a centralized exchange. And then I used a centralized exchange to later send half the amount to my wallet and then send the other half to my wallet some other time too. So obviously you got to do the right thing so you don't sit there and incriminate yourself. Obviously some protocols have a lot more leeway because, hey, sometimes you need to send stuff to each other. So who knows? What's my dimension price target? Like the problem with price targets is like, guys, like I want you to know something. Do not listen to what I'm saying as a sort of, hey, well, the brown gent said it's going here, so I'm not going to make my move or whatever. For dimension, I don't know. Dimension is what, like $7 right now? Maybe it goes to 30, 40. Who knows, right? We'll know better in like 3 months, right? Like, so like it's hard to tell like a year out. And I know a lot of people are just asking because they want to like feel good about, just sitting there and waiting, but we'll know. 300 T, I know, right? That'd be insane. I say I'm having trouble with Bearer because I can't get the Bearer roll unless I buy NFT. No, you don't have to buy an NFT. I got the Bearer roll. Here's what you do, Brooklyn. Sit in that Discord and do your other stuff. And when you hear people asking questions, right click on their name, respond. You do it 3 or 4 times. The moderator will literally tag the bot and say, promote this guy to Bearer Cup or whatever. They don't say it that way, but that's what they do, right? And you get it within half an hour if you just sit there and do your own thing, because there's a time limit on like your responses, and just do that. That should do it. I don't know anything about an NFT that you need like that, unless they've made that a new requirement. Surprise to me. Are we getting airdrops from liquid staking? For Stride, you definitely are. They take snapshots on a daily basis. So you can see here, I have 71.3 Stride tokens that I am going to get in 6 months, or they cliff in 6 months. Also, Milk Tia will find out around the endpoints, and that'll eventually turn into that too. There are also other protocols like Zero Lend, which you sort of liquid stake there, or sort of you lend. What am I saying? You lend, and they earn you points, and that'll be transferred into the Zero airdrop. Yeah, not a problem. Sending from the same centralized exchange wallet to different. Yeah, of course it is, because these centralized exchanges, how the hell do you know which one Binance is using? And they all have different wallets in there, right, to send and receive. And also, like, that's like saying, well, 5 people use Binance today. Well, they must be the same person, right? You gotta be careful. Like, there's a lot of things you gotta do to flag it, but I wouldn't worry too much about that stuff. Anyways, it's about an hour. I'm gonna cut this video because I need to go eat dinner and work out. Guys, it's been a pleasure. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm gonna say. Also, if you're interested, we got the private group, the private membership, where we're really gonna be focusing on ZK Sync, Layer 0, Linea, Scroll, Hyperlane, Polyhedra, and much more. But that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching, staying with me till the end. And until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.